Hi Krista, today I want to talk to you about equality, and why I hate it. So my main problems are, first, equality is not justice, and secondly, the equality narrative is one which centers the people with the most power and privilege. It normalizes supremacy. So, first, equality does not mean justice. That means the circumstance under which equality is an appropriate end goal is the circumstance in which equality means the same thing as justice, but it rarely does. Expanding the rights, privileges, access to resources of underrepresented folks does not actually end the injustice of people with more power feeling entitled to it. Moreover, many of the privileges bestowed upon white people, straight people, men, those privileges are inherently oppressive, and expanding the rights of other people to engage in that kind of oppressive behavior is not actually egalitarian. People in positions of power, status, and unearned authority are often quick to advance the cause of equality, because they feel that everybody should be entitled to their same level of unearned power and prestige. But in fact, all the narrative of equality does is normalize that unearned power and prestige. So the narrative goes, right, some people are at this level of power and prestige, and everybody else needs to be raised up to that same level so that everyone can be equal. But the reality is, the fact that people are at that level of power and prestige means they are exploiting people below them. The only way people attain that kind of unearned status is through exploitative relationships with others. I think a movement for justice, instead of creating opportunities for everybody to emulate the people with the most power and status, actually wholly rejects the institution and framework which allows anyone to have that kind of unearned power and status. So let's talk about some examples, because it's easier to walk through the theory if you understand some specifics. So, for example, equality means all races being equal, and that sounds good. Except that justice means understanding that race was created for the purpose of white supremacy and capitalist exploitation. The concept of race itself, especially whiteness, is a tool for unequal power relationships. It is inherent in the system of race that some people are privileged over others. Rejecting the system of race wholeheartedly is a lot more complicated and a lot less friendly to white folks. That last point is an important one. Justice may not always be friendly to people with unearned power, privilege, and status. We can talk about this in even greater specificity. For example, marriage equality. The thing about marriage equality is that I'm not that into marriage. I think it's based on the patriarchal exchange of women, and I view the entire institution as a way for the state to privilege certain types of relationships. That is, it is inherently unequal. Moreover, the way this plays out in the queer community is the people who are best able to assimilate into straight institutions are the people who are afforded the most privilege by the movement which centers marriage equality. Ooh, and then the lesbian aristocracy claims to speak for my entire community. That LGBT acronym gets trotted out like it represents all of us. That is some bullshit. A movement for justice ought to center the people who are most marginalized in my community, but instead of giving them voice, the marriage equality movement speaks for them. Moreover, it speaks for them in a way which undermines their agency. Not just in that it takes away their voice, but also it uses cis-het folks as the measuring stick by which the quality of all humans might be judged. The movement for justice ought to reject cis-het exploitation, instead of centering and normalizing their fucked up relationship models and institutions. Except any cis-het folks watching, of course. I'm sure your relationships are special snowflakes that have nothing to do with what I just mentioned. I have a lot to say about that, both in the specific and general case, but I think maybe it should end there, because I'm already over 4 minutes, and while I think this video counts as educational, I think I better not push my luck too much. Krista, I have a punishment for you. I think that you can make Chubby Bunny into a drinking game. What is Chubby Bunny, you ask?
The rules are you just eat marshmallows and say Chubby Bunny. It's pretty easy, watch me. Chubby Bunny. Chubby Bunny.
How is that a drinking game? Well, I don't really know. But you can work it out, and I recommend cake-flavored vodka. That's your punishment. You work that out and record a video, post it some weekend in the future. Krista, I will see you tomorrow.